I think the biggest story from the National Football League this weekend is the Kansas City Chiefs continue to roll. Kansas City with a victory over the San Francisco 49ers. And now, before everyone gets into, oh, well, San Francisco this, San Francisco that, yes, understanding that Brandon Ayuk's knee ripped apart and Deebo Samuel got sick very early in this game. So yes, we are not dealing with the full complement of options here for the San Francisco 49ers, but still, they had Brock Purdy off-balanced all game. And I do think that Brock Purdy has taken a step forward this year and is actually a very strong quarterback, but I do think that this Kansas City Chiefs defense just made him look absolutely off balance and just uncomfortable this whole game. And they do such a great job of making teams one-dimensional. The run game was not a factor at all. Mason was back fine in this game, and Kansas City's defense, it didn't matter. They are able to get such a pass rush. They do such a great job in the secondary as well. There are no holes. There's nothing to really exploit with this team. What we have mentioned a couple of times here from a fantasy football perspective, they do really lock in on a number one option, and then Deebo goes down, so obviously they can then lock in on Ayuk. Ayuk goes down, and they do still have some trouble with the tight end, with George Kittle. And so I just said that this is a team without flaw, and no, we found two of them. But still, this is, I do think, a defense that is one of the best in the league. I think it's down to them and Pittsburgh for the best defenses in the National Football League. They are just so incredibly talented. And like this is a defense-first football team. And then Patrick Mahomes goes out and gets the job done with what he has. And in this game, it was a lot of stuff with the runs. And I understand that there is a it's a little unfair what he can do on the sideline, where everyone is just kind of laying up because they don't want to go out and launch at him, and he takes one step out of bounds, and all of a sudden it's a 15-yard penalty. But he just kind of does a bit of a hesitation, and then he can keep running for an extra 15, 20 yards anyway. It is a tricky spot for defenses to be put in, but the way that teams have had trouble moving the football this year, I'm not going to cry too much for defenses. I know that a lot of how you have been able to play defense in the NFL has been legislated out of it for a really long time now, but still, we haven't had a ton of points this year in the NFL. And so if quarterbacks want to take a bit of advantage of something, then who are we to get in their way? But still, like, you look at what Mahomes was able to do in this game against the San Francisco defense that, by the way, we all think very highly of. Noah Gray is your number one receiver in this game for Kansas City with 4 receptions. I think it was 65 yards. They were able to get the run game going a little bit with Kareem Hunt, but it's Patrick Mahomes, and it's not all the time. So you don't think of him as this mobile running quarterback the way a Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson are. But he is so smart about doing it at the right time, and his vision when he has the football is so incredible. That play that he had, what was the Monday night? Was it Atlanta? No, that was Sunday night. The one Monday night game that they had, where he is just like, he weaves in and out. Oh, no, see, we can loop back around and get there. He is able to set up blocks in a really efficient, really effective way, and he just sees the field so well that it is difficult to defend him when he starts getting out and he starts really running for all of that. But yeah, this is still the best team in the league, and they proved it in a Super Bowl rematch against the 49ers. For San Francisco, you hope that Deebo Samuel is less sick when they play again, and the Brandon Ayuk injury, it sucks. He was just starting to kind of get going, and now the knee injury happens, and the season is over for him, and now Ricky Pearsall gets thrown into it. But this was one of the things we kind of cautioned about at the beginning of the year, was San Francisco had such great injury luck last year, and now it feels like all of it is just kind of crashing down, and we get another one here this week. Moving on. Who's going to get the blame with the Jets now? All right, we fired the coach. Mike Williams fell down on a play on Monday Night Football, so we had to go out and trade for Devontae Adams. Where's the next scapegoat going to be found with the Jets? For the Jets to get absolutely punished by the Steelers was quite a thing to see on Sunday night. And you have Aaron Rodgers coming out and say, oh, we just came out a little bit flat. First of all, no, you didn't. You had a 15-6 lead in this game and then gave up 31 points in a row. But still, let's work under the assumption that he is correct. He was there. He knows. He was in the huddles, all that stuff. I was just watching on my couch. let's just say, for argument's sake, that they came out flat. What more sparks do you need? Why are we a team that is in need of sparks? Your season is, I'm not going to say your season's on the line, because a lot of people still think they can make the playoffs. But any hope you have of winning this division and getting any kind of a home playoff game is on the line. You're 2-4. What more spark do you need? You're playing on Sunday Night Football against a very good Pittsburgh Steelers team. This should be getting, that should be spark enough. You've already fired the coach to get a spark, to try to jumpstart this team and move them in a different direction. You traded for Davante Adams to give a spark to this offense. Why are we so sparkless in New York that there's a need for more sparks to be coming in? I don't understand that at all. And it is, I feel like Aaron Rodgers has had so many things just tailored to him the last little bit that, well, something else must be wrong. We just need to fix this. Because it's always been, well, my receivers are too young. My team isn't helping me, even though, we've made it to the NFC Championship game all these times and all these things, but my team isn't giving me the support I need, so I need to go somewhere else. Okay, well, now I don't have the right coach. Well, now I don't have the right wide receivers. At some point, it's not going to be perfect. Patrick Mahomes, I just said, won with Noah by God Gray as his number one receiving option. So, spare me the, we didn't have a spark. You only get to play 17 of these a year. Find it. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be a leader on this team. And I came out and was very complimentary of him a little bit ago, which didn't feel great. But I was complimentary of him because he actually, it felt like, held this team accountable and was actually saying, like, no, that this needs to improve. And this team was not one with a lot of accountability for a while. And so I thought he did great at kind of saying, no, we need to be better. Well, now I think that accountability has to fall on him. He needs to be better. He needs to be the one who is providing the spark. He needs to be the leader that is getting his team all sparkled up and ready to go on Sunday Night Football. Good morning, Anand. Happy Monday. Yeah, thanks for popping in the chat today. Really appreciate it. We're going to get to some Flames chat in a little bit. Anand, one of the hosts on Game Over Calgary. It was myself and Conrad on that this weekend. But back to the football. It's a disaster with the Jets. They are 2-5. They're 3 games back of the Bills for first place in the East. They do still have one more game against the Patriots. That's this week. They have 2 more games against the Dolphins, but Tua might be inching his way back. There are bigger problems there for sure, but it may not be the cakewalk that it seems to be. They do, as difficult games left, they have the Texans, the Seahawks, and the Bills. As games, they have the Jags, the Rams, and the Colts, where it feels like 50-50. But the only wins this team has this year are against Jacoby Brissett and Gerard Mayo in his first Thursday Night Football game, and Will Levis, who is Will Levis. Like, this is not a good football team. And the last little bit of this, and this is this is definitely like a hot takey whatever thing, but is that Garrett Wilson drop that leads to an interception maybe a sign of something else? Because he doesn't drop that 9 times out of 10, and it could just be it hit his shoulder pad, and it is one of those plays, and that is like the Occam's razor of just what is the most likely scenario. That's it. I understand I am doing a gigantic philosophical reach with this, but you do wonder if that is a man who is overthinking a little bit. They have just brought in Davante Adams, who is the best buddy with Aaron Rodgers. You have all these different distractions going on. You just wonder if there was just something in his head where I need to make this get. This is my play. This is my chance to do it. And it's the football equivalent of just gripping the stick too tight, and he whiffed on it. So I wonder if there is just too many distractions and too much going on with the New York Jets right now. But credit to the Steelers as well. They step up. The defense plays really well and comes up with a few big plays. And Russell Wilson, I didn't think he was amazing, but he steps up, and the offense did look better in this contest against a pretty good Jets defense. Another one of the big games of the weekend was the Detroit Lions. They come up with a big showing against the Vikings of Minnesota, and Jared Goff showed up in a big-time way. Like, this team went to the NFC Championship game a year ago, and this is still probably the most impressed I have been with him. He does not strike you as a quarterback who would handle pressure that well, and the Vikings brought it, and he was exceptional. He was so good with getting the ball out. Amon-Ra St. Brown was, I think, a big benefactor of all of that, and I think this does kind of show game plan-wise how you can take a Jameson Williams out of it, which from a fantasy standpoint sucked this week. But with that pressure coming, Amon-Ra is going to be the guy who's a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. He is going to get those quick check down passes, and he did a lot with them, and that allowed the Detroit Lions to really step up in this football game. But just a fantastic game. I think both of these teams come out of it with you feeling a little bit better about them. I don't think the Vikings have a whole lot to hang their heads about. Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson were fantastic, and I do think you get just a touch concerned about your defense being your strength and giving up 31 points, but I still think that you have to feel very good about this from a Vikings standpoint. To think of where we thought of them at the beginning of the year and now what they are doing here is really impressive stuff. The Houston Texans, I think, have some concerns now. They did not manage that game late well against the Green Bay Packers. They had a chance to basically set it up where they can kick a field goal to win it, or at least come close to it, and they just didn't take enough time off of the clock. They left Jordan Love with some time. He marches down, and Green Bay, who have had some field goal kicking issues for years now, get Brandon McManus to just sneak it in, and it looked like it was drifting left, and then it just kind of stays the course and goes through and gives Green Bay a very important win. But for the Texans, like this is a Green Bay defense that we said last week, we're not really taking them all that seriously anymore. Maybe they haven't taken that big step that we thought. Even though it was a good performance against Arizona, it still is not a defense that's like, no, we're locked in. This is a good one. And they gave the Texans a lot of problems. C.J. Stroud with only 99 yards passing in this game. With no Nico Collins, you can really see where things are lacking. This was where we said Stephon Diggs needs to step up, and he just gets into fights. I am pretty done with Stephon Diggs. I think that's fairly clear at this point. They need him to get better. And look, they ran the ball really effectively, and I think that is an area that you can attack Green Bay on now. But Jordan Love did not have a great game. It felt like this game was here for the taking, and it feels like the Houston Texans kind of let one slip away on Sunday afternoon. The Seattle Seahawks step up. Just when we were ready to kind of give up on the Seahawks, they come out with one of their better performances of the year, specifically on defense. That was the type of defense that we were expecting to see from them. And they're getting a little bit healthier, and they're getting a little bit better now. And we will see what the DK Metcalf injury situation is. It didn't look great on the sideline. Reports this morning are that it's not that bad. Like, he did get carted off, but watching Good Morning Football, Ian Rappaport was saying, yeah, the locker rooms are a far way away. Like, everyone kind of gets carted off these days, so they just didn't want him walking all that way. So maybe it's not that serious, but this defense is back to performing the way that we thought they would at the beginning of the year. And offensively, it's not a gigantic stats day for Geno Smith, but it was a good enough day to take advantage of what the defense was giving him and pick up some big points and pick up a big win. And it's just a reminder where the Falcons are. It's a good team who can beat up bad teams and get the occasional win against good teams, but can also lose to good teams. Like, this isn't a juggernaut of any sort or anything like that. Let's look at the wins. Atlanta beat Philadelphia. That one, I think, is a good win still. They beat New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. So they've won their division games and Philly. They have lost to Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Seattle. There's no shame in losing to Kansas City. Pittsburgh, it was a weird one, week one. But this was just there is a ceiling to what Atlanta can do, and a limit, I think, on who Atlanta can beat. And so this was a good reminder of that. The Eagles dominate the Giants. The big story from this was Saquon Barkley just running like a man possessed, and running like he absolutely saw a lot of those things on Hard Knocks and took it all out on what is a pretty good Giants defense. This was the first time the Eagles came out and made a statement in a couple of years. Like we said last week, this needs to be an ass-kicking game against Cleveland to reestablish yourselves as one of the top teams in the NFC. They didn't do that. Well, they did that this week. And it's not a big Jalen Hurts game, but with Saquon Barkley going the way he was, it's going to be difficult to stop them. The Giants' offense was bottled up by an Eagles defense that's just okay, and it's very clear that it's not it for Daniel Jones and the Giants. Sticking in that division, hopefully Jaden Daniels is all right. That was concerning to see him come out with a rib injury. He had a family member tweeting out during the game, yeah, he's going to be fine. They didn't put him in because why did they have to? Washington just absolutely dummied the Carolina Panthers and just whooped that ass for a gigantic win. But this is the thing that you're concerned with Jaden Daniels, is that he's small, he runs like crazy, and he takes a bunch of hits. So hopefully this is just quick and he's going to be all right, but you do also hope again that he learns from this. And now for Carolina, it is time to move on from Andy Dalton again, and it is time to bring Bryce Young back in. If all the mock drafts are correct, and this team is going to go quarterback again in the first round this upcoming draft, I think you need to give Bryce Young one more opportunity to go in there and see what he can do. It has now been weeks of him learning. It has been weeks of him on the sideline seeing what this offense maybe can be. And now I do think it is time for him to try to get back in there, or for them to get him back in there and give him one last go with this, if you are going to do that. Or I think the trade deadline is in either at, is it this week or next week? That's something I should know before I go into this. But I think at that point you trade. Like, if you're not bringing him back in, and you're just going to trade him anyway, you're just going to get rid of him anyway, then just move him now. Just do it. Like, you're not going to get a whole lot back for him anyway. So why? Why not just move him now? November 5th is the trade deadline, so there's still a little bit of time. So even if you just put him in against Denver and he sucks again, move him to the Raiders for a 7th round pick. We'll talk about the Raiders here in a second, but like, I don't see the point of what they are doing anymore with Bryce Young. Either throw him in there and see what he has and see what you have in him, or if you've just decided you have moved on, then fully decide you've moved on and try to get something back for him here at this deadline and really kind of solidify that you are going in a different direction.